found a tube, and the minute I opened it, the smell transported me through time.
This One's Wife, touched by Sadim. I invented the concept of the Sadim touch for This One's Wife. It's the Midas touch in reverse, because whatever she does, it turns to shit, not gold. She wrote The Bench, which was meant to be for children, but it hardly was. It didn't sell many. It was just catapulted apparently to the top of the list as a consequence of Oprah bulk buying the copies and then sticking them in the landfill. It won an award, not for what was written, but for the illustrations. Anybody reading it would think, why would a child want to listen to this? Her attempts to read it to the children in Harlem, as she sat there mimicking Chairman Mao, fell on deaf ears. They weren't interested. She created a podcast series. It was self-indulgent claptrap, which was just there to try and score points against those that had criticised her over the years. She didn't do much of the interviewing. Viewership fell away after the initial grudge listens, and Spotify said, no thank you, we don't want any more. She then had wound up at Lemonada, which has so far just re-released Archetypes, and nothing has been generated so far. Netflix had a hit with Harry and This One's Wife, more out of grudge views than anything else, and since then the offerings have been sparse indeed. There has been a failure to launch with Pearl. The supposed conversion of the book that was purchased by Netflix for them hasn't got them anywhere. We're told that shows about gardening, cookery and polo are on the way, but they're hardly inspiring and exciting topics. She said that she was going to march on Washington with Gloria Steinem, and then did nothing. She claimed she was campaigning for parental leave, but then nothing happened. She supposedly got political aspirations, but nothing has come of that. Whatever she has turned her hand to, whatever she has touched, it's turned to shit. And those that have had contact with her invariably find themselves being described as being markled as a consequence of the failure that floats around her like a bad smell. She's now moved on to the lifestyle brand American Riviera Orchard, and the reactions to this are useful to dive into for the purposes of assessing that the Sadim touch is going to make its appearance in relation to American Riviera Orchard also. Mark Dewell writes in the Daily Mail, This One's Wife distributed strawberry jam to her friends as a way of highlighting her new business venture by giving them a personal present, direct assertion of control through bribery, that she likely produced herself with ingredients sourced from Monty Shit Show, a branding expert revealed. The Duchess of Sussex sent friends a limited edition jar ahead of the formal launch of her brand American Riviera Orchard later this spring with a range of items. Fashion designer Tracy Robbins and Argentine socialite Delfina Blaquier posted on Instagram that they each received one of the jars, which PR expert Nick Eade said looked very homemade, absolutely, with a stylish crest, don't agree with that, and almost handwritten brand name. Mrs. Robbins and her husband, Paramount boss Brian Robbins, are friends with the Sussexes and invited them to the Bob Marley film premiere in Jamaica in January. The couple are also friends with Miss Blaquier, who is married to Prince Harry's friend Nacho Figueres, with the four together at a charity polo match in Florida last Friday. Mr. Eade said the jam will have most likely been sourced in Monty's Shit Show and produced by hand by This One's Wife herself to make them feel special and thought of. Now, I'm not sure where Mr. Eade gets this information from, but in actual fact, I doubt that she would do so because she's intrinsically lazy. She probably has written the numbers on the labels, but she'll have got somebody else to make the jam. She'll have got somebody else to put it in the jars and put on the lids and the muslin cloth and stick on the labels, etc., because it's beneath her. What she wants is the result of this. She wants the praise that comes from it, as the 50 recipients take to Instagram and talk about how wonderful and sweet it is, thus providing her with positive fuel and showing that they're under control. She wants the residual benefit that comes from this free publicity. She's not going to roll up her sleeves and actually create something. We saw that with archetypes. She didn't do most of the interviewing. She's intrinsically lazy. Remember, this is the woman that said in Australia, "I can't believe I'm not being paid for this walkabout." She expects things just to happen, that she doesn't actually have to do anything. It's part of the magical thinking that she's afflicted by as being a narcissist. Mr. Reed continues by saying he claimed her strategy was highlighting the brand rather than this one's wife, as she tries to get people to buy into the ARA lifestyle, not just her own personal brand. But Mr. Eade added that the lack of information about this one's wife's jam, and no way to buy it yet, could be frustrating to potential purchasers. What? There are some? And fans who want to know more. Again, a point that was made by my PR expert, that there's no additional information surrounding the story of the jam. This is the latest launch amid a trend of celebrities shifting their own food products, with Julianne Moore, Will Ferrell and LeBron James among those selling honey from their own gardens through the Flamingo Estate brand for up to $250 per jar. This one's wife could have found inspiration from her father-in-law, i.e. character trait acquisition, from King Charles III, who began selling products such as jam from the Duchy of Cornwall estate in the 1990s. Prince William took on the Duchy estate after Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022, and Duchy organic strawberry jam is on sale at Waitrose for £2.80 per jar, with sales from the full range helping raise £30 million for the Prince of Wales's charitable fund. Well, I very much doubt that this one's wife would be ensuring that the money goes to charity. She'll be wanting to line her own pockets. Speaking about the launch, Mr. Eade said, "The creation of individually numbered jars of jam sent to a select group of influential people is exactly what I thought that this one's wife would do. The whole premise of her new brand, American Riviera Orchard, is to highlight the quality and origin of the locally sourced ingredients. But is it? Because we're not told if they're locally sourced ingredients. There's no information about it. As a way of getting the brand out there, and in keeping with the homemade, straight from the home aesthetic that she's gone for, it works really well." Well, I don't think Mr. Reed has got this right. He continued, "It's not known how much the jam will cost, and if it will even go into mass production. But as a way of creating interest, it's also highlighting the brand rather than this one's wife, which will be her strategy. But it fails because people, as I've pointed out, don't know any information about it. Will be querying, is it the fact of her sourcing it ethically? Are the people that are making it paid properly? These are questions that people will want to know. After all, this is the Duchess, who is apparently a living saint. There's no story surrounding it, and people ask, why is it being presented with a bowl of lemons, as I pointed out earlier? She wants people, Mr. Reed continues, to buy into the ARA lifestyle, not just her own personal brand. The look and feel of it is very homemade, with a stylish crest and almost handwritten brand name to keep it feeling like it's a personal present. The idea that she's only sent it to 50 people shows that the stock is limited and creates a demand too and interest. As a launch, it's low-key, but in keeping with their new softer, homely approach to their celebrity status and lifestyle. Well, Mr. Reed is complimentary about it, but he went on to say that it does look and feel similar to the look and feel of Flamingo Estate, which has been one of the most successful brands to collaborate with talents like Jane Goodall and Julianne Moore. He added that there was one major difference in that for all the celebrity-owned brands, when they send out to people of influence to post on their social media, there is a call to action to purchase. With ARO, there is no functioning website, just a holding page and an email registration, which means that people who want to know more have no other information, and I think this could be frustrating to potential purchasers and fans who want to know more. Mr. Reed, to my view, has read this wrong, and although that he's correct about the aspect of there not being a call to action, which might frustrate individuals, the point is that this is another PR gaffe has been identified by my PR expert and Mark Bukowski, who I've mentioned earlier on. But it's interesting to get another take on this as produced by the Mail in reference to what this one's wife has launched. But let's see what readers think. Do they agree with Mr. Reed's observations? Are they excited by this product? Is it something that they're interested in and they want to know more? Miss Havisham points out people here in rural England make all sorts of jams and pickles to sell in farm shops for £2 a jar. Local, fresh ingredients. Rudeness. Gotta hope absolutely no fossil fuels were used in the glass production, tin lid production, cooking production, and eventually the transportation of said product. Madam Moon adds, nor slaves of any description. Diane. Big deal. Many people, me for example, make homemade jams, butters, etc. every year. The question is, what will it taste like when mass-produced by China? Southpaw Snow Leopard. The funny thing is, Harry and this one's wife might have been quite successful as business folk if they had opted not to use their fame. After all, many businesses manage to make money without having some celebrity at the helm. Angel2222 gets the nub of the matter, as I've pointed out. Yes, but their main problem is they are so unlikable. The way he treated his family, the way she's treated her dad, etc., while they talk about forgiveness and compassion, they can never change it now. It's their brand for life. And the jam is $52. Now, it's not clear where that's come from, but if that's the case, you can only see those who've got more money than sense parting with it, and certainly the sugars will be left bankrupt if they need to buy it. TT Witch writes, you would need a lot of ingredients to make 50 jars of jam, and it would be a slow process as you would need to do them in batches, thus possibly suggesting that this one's wife hasn't done it. Without name adds, and she picked the strawberries with her own 2 hands, and then sterilised the jars with her own 2 hands, and then made the jar with the jam with her own 2 hands, all the time dressed in white designer clothes. And pigs can fly. Christine M1, did she get the TB test and the food handler's state test, and does she have a county and state licence, state-approved kitchen to allow her to do this, and then sell the food stuff? We would have to jump through all these state and federal hoops to sell our food products. Why not her also? Janie74, looking at the contents of those jars, it looks like a puree of strawberries, not true jam, which is strawberries boiled with sugar and pectin to reach a setting point, then ladled into sterilised jars before sealing. I doubt she'd personally go to that much effort. Chesky Anglican, very unlikely. I doubt that Rachel's hands came anywhere near them, except to stick on the labels, maybe. Eastwood 3212, she probably gets Harry to do that, chained under the stairs, while she counts the money. Dainchi, the PR nonsense these two have shelled out over the past years is about as laughable as thinking this woman was in a kitchen sweating over something with her bare hands. This couple can't seem to grasp that you can't pretend to be a phony stay-at-home mum just trying to make it while your husband plays the most elitist game in the world, abusing animals and showing off the wealth it takes to even play the so-called sport of polo. 2 phony tryhards that just Markle everything that they touch. Lubs, you just know they are frantically scheduling a photographer to come to their home this week to take shots of her making the jam. Caesarea Masluk, I always thought that a list of ingredients was obligatory for all items, plus the area where they were made, and if they were inspected, approved and registered with the FDA. Well, plenty of criticism for this one's wife, all making similar points about how unlikable she is, and nobody believing that she's actually made this jam herself. Thus, Richard Eade's observations seem to be rejected by the majority of individuals. Once again, the public aren't interested. The public condemn it. The public criticise it. And it's all because she isn't liked. Once again, something that she tries to create is demonstrably touched by the Sadim touched. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.